And that recording is in progress.
Got it. All right. Welcome to another episode of Drop Third Strike with myself, Terry Gant in Chicago, Illinois, and my podcast partner, Dr. Davies-Stofka in Denver, Colorado.
Hello there, Terry. I was almost about to say that I'll be Dr. Terry Gant and you be Beth Davies-Stofka.
In my Dr. Midnight, I'm an imaginary doctor. You actually went through all the actual effort to get a PhD.
Yeah. I gave up all that income and all that Social Security benefit, and
yeah,
and
right.
We still ask ourselves, these many years later,
you might be the most decorated baseball fan I know.
Oh, I hope so. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Well, then yeah, in the whole world, probably not, but
decorated with degrees.
Yeah. Steve, my husband, Legion of Fans. Steve's my husband. He sent me a screenshot from his phone recently, and it was a letter he'd gotten because he's in school right now, right? And it was a letter he'd gotten from the department, and it was signed by somebody who had signed her name, Administrative Assistant 3. And
okay,
and he'd given it and nothing against her, she earns that, right? But
she signed it as her official university job title.
That is her official university job title. And he used it as an example of just the very intense way that academia establishes and maintains a hierarchy, right?
Yes.
We are extremely hierarchical. And he said, based on that, I should start calling myself General Beth Davies-Stofka.
Yeah, when I worked for a major university here in town for many years, I have initially had one of those titles with a number behind it. And it was very hard for me to do my job in a general sense. I could do my job every day in a general sense, right? But it was difficult when it came review time to think about what my goals were and had been in regards to what that title and number were. So in order to actually make it more effective, I simply changed my title, right? I just decided whatever this thing is here, that's not really what I'm doing. I'm going to do this other thing. That's going to be my title now. And it made it so that I could be more effective and direct my energies in the way that I wanted to in order to be effective at the job. But it became confusing when now you're doing review and what's happening is their universities are determining the rate at which you get a raise based on that number behind the title they know you as, right?
Yeah.
So you could find yourself very quickly kind of maxed out at your number,
yeah.
Right? And if there's no smaller number for you to move to, right? Then it becomes, well, your title says this, but the university title says this, what do we do? So it did create a little bit of confusion. It was kind of funny, but I got to do it.
Well, it totally does, because pay is tiered.
Yes. So I would have, if I were this person, there would be no way that my correspondence would have ended with Administrative Assistant 3. It would have just said whatever title I would have invented for the role I'm doing, and leave the Administrative Assistant 3 people to HR, right?
Right.
They can call me that, but
right.
Steve wouldn't, because Steve's going to see some other things going to be more useful to him in dealing with me.
That is exactly right. Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. Now that makes sense, because I was going to ask you, how did that go over with the university for you to change job title? But
all I basically did was just went to the person who prints up business cards and asked for new business cards with different wording.
Oh,
they said, okay, right? So as far as the university was concerned, nothing changed. But as far as the way I dealt with the office and with students, they understood what they could actually get from me and what I could provide for them by the title that they saw. That made more sense than if I tell you I'm Administrative Assistant 2, 3, 4, 9. What does that really mean to you if you're a student looking for help?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I tell you I'm a counselor, right? Then
right.
Aha, got it. I know exactly what I go to this guy.
Yeah. No, when I got this job, when I started this job 10 years ago, they printed up business cards for me, and I don't know what they were thinking or what happened. I don't know what happened, but the cards say that I work in IT.
Okay.
I've never given them out, because I figure here I am, department chair for liberal studies, and if I give out a card, they'd be like, oh, so your help desk.
Yes, that creates a different kind of an expectation.
Really different expectation. So I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've never given out a business card. Which is nice, because that way people don't contact me, which
these
I like.
Playoffs,
Playoffs. Yeah, sorry.
How in the world did you survive the last 2 weeks of baseball, 3 weeks of baseball, the way these playoffs have gone?
How did I survive? That's a good question because they have been, I mean, obviously they've just pulled on every emotional string
I really did.
and psychological string that I've got. No, not all of them, but I mean, I was definitely a symphony of responses. I would say that for sure. There's,
Yeah.
because I mean, the highs and the lows really have been, I mean, I don't know, people who've been in the profession much longer were saying that this was one of the most exciting postseasons they could remember.
Yeah.
And there's a sense in which you say that every year, but this year that felt like really profoundly true. And maybe a lot of that was just because for a while there, the Red Sox were so surprising and exciting. For still now, but going to the World Series, Freddie Freeman was just like could just like make your heart sing,
Yeah.
right? And but also that Dodgers Giants thing was just I've never seen anything like that.
Absolutely.
That was crazy. That was crazy. And I thought, and I should kick that to you and ask you how you survived it. So let me start there. Like how I got through it by resetting every day.
You
So
kind of had to.
yesterday, here's a new day. Here's what we're doing today, and then moving on, right?
Yeah, I kind of caught like a bunch of wild stories that kind of just kept me. Like the White Sox were eliminated. The story there, in my opinion, the story of the White Sox being eliminated is, well, now you know you need deeper starting pitching, even though the White Sox starting pitching is very good, right? They need to be deeper, right? And they need to clutch hit it. So that's the thing. Like the Tony La Russa story. Like Tony La Russa didn't blow it for the White Sox. The White Sox just didn't have enough for the Houston Astros, who just never stopped, right? The
Right.
Houston Astros absolutely were just the better team. And like it kind of makes you angry about like all the other things about the Astros over the years, the last couple of years rather, like the cheating scandal and all that. This has always been a team that didn't need to cheat, right? And you're still that good, right? Then there was one day my wife was getting off of a bus and walking to our house, and on her way home, she just passed some neighbors like a couple blocks away who we didn't know, who was sitting outside in their front yard with a giant screen TV watching the Rays and Red Sox, right? But they're like a Red Sox and Yankees household, right? So like they're watching, kind of rooting for the Red Sox, and then they flipped over to the White Sox Houston game. And the only reason why I know this is because my wife said to them, "Oh my God, this looks so awesome! My husband would love this." And then they were like, "Send it down," right? So then I was like, "Oh, what the hell?" I just put my shoes on and just walked out of the house, thinking that they were literally around the corner, but they weren't. They were like on the next block, so they were like a block and a half away. But there they were. They were like, "Yeah, have a seat," right? And there we are, sitting out on these benches in these guys like front yard watching baseball, man. Like at night, it was cool.
Yeah.
Like it was a different way. Like the experience. This is what COVID's done is I can't go to the bar and watch the playoffs like I used to, right? Like there's a communal aspect of being a baseball fan that when you're hanging out with other baseball fans, it's just cool, right?
Right.
And I kind of miss that. So here I am practically with strangers who I then start seeing around the neighborhood. I've never seen these people before ever, right? And then I'm out like trying to find a lost dog last week. And that neighbor who brought his TV out, like he's out jogging with his kid, right? By my house.
Wow.
Then like, yeah, the Giants Dodgers series was fantastic. We got all the way to this point where at almost every series of these playoffs, it could have gone either way, and I could root for either team. Like I'm picking teams based on various stories with players within teams. Like I'm not a fan of any specific, let's say I'm an Astros fan, yes, but like it's because there's certain players on the Astros I love, right? But not everybody on the Astros, But as you're watching these playoffs, it's like no one's giving up. Like here's the Dodgers playing the Braves, and the Dodgers are fighting back 3-1. Like every game, the Braves are thinking they got to take this to win, right?
Yeah.
And the Dodgers just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
The other day, how I was wondering how you felt, because when they announced that Scherzer couldn't go in Game 6, I was like, this is gonna kill them.
Oh,
right?
It actually did it because I could see that. When they said Scherzer was starting game 6, I'm like, really? Yeah, sure.
Because that dude was like used, like that's a thing. Like there's a lot of use there, you
Yeah.
know? Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well, and you
Oh,
remember last year in the World, not last year, the year before in the World Series when the Nationals won. I don't know how many of those. I don't know if he had a start because he was already just he had that numbness, and no, he had one start because he had to
yeah,
sit out, and then he had like
right.
extreme massage or something like that, and
Yes.
then started a game. But he wasn't. I mean, he was playing so hurt
Yeah.
that and it was ended up being Strasburg who was the key pitcher for the Nationals in 2019. So that was 2019. Here we are 2021, and everybody talks about like Max and Mad Max and max effort and max focus, and that's
Yeah.
the whole thing, is that he doesn't do anything by halves. And so when he got that save, that was like incredibly exciting, because it was just another chapter in just an epic story. I mean, I feel like we're watching like Odysseus here, with just like
Yeah. Yeah.
one epic accomplishment after another, one incredible turn of events after another. But even Odysseus, like, wasn't he the one that stopped and married Dido and hung out in Carthage for a while? I mean, everybody has
Well,
to
it took
get
him
a
like
rest,
30
right?
years to get home.
Yeah. Everybody has to get a rest. And
Seriously.
you can't keep going at Scherzer's level. I mean, he's durable, sure. I mean, he's a miracle of nature. His body knows how to play baseball in a way that you just don't see that often. But yeah, I mean, he said he had a dead arm in his next start, right? They took him out after, I can't remember if it was 2 or 4 innings, but they took him out really early. Oh, I know, it was pitch count. And he had
Yeah.
said in the press conference prior to the game, he said he had the save. He said, I don't know how I'm feeling. He said, we'll just have to see. I'm thinking a pitch count of 60 or 70. And I think he hit that 60 mark really early on, like maybe by the 4th inning, maybe even earlier. And so he was out, and it was a bullpen after that. And so when they said he's going to start game 6, I'm like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not. And so while we're on the Dodgers, because I mean, yes, I was rooting for the Dodgers, not necessarily because they're like my team, because they're not. They're a team, but they have these players that I really want to keep watching.
Right.
And all of the teams do, but the Dodgers have the most players, the largest quantity of players that I want to keep watching, chief among them being Max Scherzer. As we know, I passionately love him as a baseball player, just passionately. And so given that, how they built their starting lineups, I mean, they're not their lineups, their rosters, how they built their rosters for each game. I mean, when they went up to San Francisco and they started Corey Knebel, and then like basically kind of ran through a bullpen selection after that. They were talking about what incredible genius this was, because they announced it like 3 hours before game time, and it forced Gabe Kapler to drop 2 of his best hitters in order to account for the changes in arms that they were expecting from the Dodgers, right? And this chess match and blah blah blah. And by last night, Pedro Martinez, but also so he's on that thing with Costas and Rollins and Granderson, right? And they all seem to be agreeing that what had happened with the Dodgers, and I want to know what you think. What happened with the Dodgers is they let the analytics department run the starting pitching, or put another way, the pitching, because we kind of stopped having starting pitchers there, right? And they said, as a result, guys like Bueller, guys like Urias were not pitching up to their level of ability. And Pedro Martinez was saying, we need analytics. Analytics contribute an incredible amount to the game, but there has to be a point where you have to let guys be who they are.
Yeah, I saw when Pedro said that, and I think a thing that I think might matter, like that's absolutely a factor, right? If the analytics are like the old like don't let them see you a third time through the lineup, or like don't let a guy throw 120 pitches, keep at about 110 or 90, whatever that is. But there's that happens in baseball everywhere. I think that what I've noticed with baseball teams especially this round of playoff players or teams, right? Like for sure, the teams who struggled with severe injuries for the most part. By the time they got around to October, where the injuries were lessened because players were coming back, let's say Mookie Betts was healthy in October, right?
Right.
What I think the bigger factor, just the way I'm looking at it, is the way pitchers have to keep pitching or to be used in such a way, because you don't have these hitters in your lineup all year long who are absolutely going to score you these extra runs, right? So that you could pitch a little more relaxed, right? We're requiring more out of pitchers, right? And then come October, they're beat, right? That's what I think happened to Max Scherzer. I think that the injury-plagued Dodgers were in a situation where their entire pitching staff got used like crazy all year long, right? And now we're at a point where now it's like, we need you to dig deep and give us a little extra because we're playing against the best teams here, right? And there's only so much they can give you on like 2 days rest, 3 days rest. Like if the Dodgers were healthy all season, Mookie Betts and Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger, if those guys were there, if Max Muncy, if they didn't have this season where everybody's constantly dropping like flies and Dave Roberts is like shuffling people in and out like nobody's business, he was a magician this season. If you don't have that, I think that some of these pitchers can pitch a little more relaxed because they're going to be pitching up more often than not.
Yeah.
Right? And their pitching staff was already devastating. Walker Buehler's like, he's a stud. But I think that it matters the way like your mindset is when you know your lineup is depleted and now it really is all on you as a pitcher. Right?
Yeah.
And the White Sox went through that, like having a good chunk of the season missing Luis Robert, missing their big, massive right fielder. Eloy Jimenez, right? Like they went through that. The Braves did a very smart thing, and when Ronald Acuna Jr. went down, they just went trading for everybody to basically fill his spot with 3 guys. Yeah. Right? Like Eddie Rosario, the hero of last night's game, didn't start the season with the Braves. Right? You know, like Jorge Soler didn't start the season with the Braves. You know, Jock Peterson didn't start the season with the Braves. Like the Dodgers did the right thing in bringing over Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, but I think by bringing Trey Turner over, they end up having to have like Gavin Lux. They want him in the line, but now he's got to play the outfield. He's playing out of position. His outfield defense is atrocious, right? This caused a problem for them, whereas the Braves didn't have this particular problem. You know, the Braves put people in positions to actually be successful, whereas the Dodgers took a risk because of their injuries, and I think this actually hurt their pitching.
Yes. So that's a combination of factors. Because if you already have pitchers who are like, you know, trying to keep up with a tough situation, right? They're maybe trying to get out there and lead and make sure that they're picking up the offense and the team, and it's on them to keep the runs from the other side down because they don't know if their offense is going to produce. You already have that kind of pressure on them, and then if Pedro is right, which he's Pedro, he's got to be right. You know, you don't even know what situation you're going to be in.
Right.
You know, you have 20 tools, but you don't know which ones you're going to need. Maybe you don't have them all lined up. You know, maybe you don't even know what to do. Maybe you don't know which tool to use. You know, because you're in situations. Right. You know, it seems to me like pitchers have always done their best. I mean, there's some rare exceptions, but for the most part, pitchers do their best when they know what to expect.
I look at like the way last year it felt like the Dodgers pitching staff just cruised through that postseason because that offense was just clicking. Everybody like Mookie Betts was in the middle of everything the entire year. Right? It was, and I feel the same way about the Tampa Bay Rays from last year. Right? Yeah. Their pitching was outstanding, but so was their offense the entire year. Right? So your pitchers are more relaxed. They're playing with leads. They're pitching with leads. You know, there's a lot you just don't have to sweat when your everyday lineup is for the most part stable every day with guys that you just know are going to be there, and they're going to be all-star players, right? They're going to be like players with a WAR of like 6 or above. You know, like guys are just going to be there every day. You can count on them. When the injuries start to pile up, now you're leaning on those pitchers who can't pitch as relaxed right? Stuff's not going quite the way it was. And I think that you could almost predict it too by teams that go deep into the playoffs every year. The next year, they got problems because it's still usage, right? These aren't off days. Like, I mean, there are players who didn't make the playoffs, who didn't go deep in the playoffs this year, who are now getting rest, right?
Yeah.
Spring training will be here before we know it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it will be. It'll be here quick. And plus they have to, I mean, they work out all throughout the off season. I don't think they take very much time off at all. Like maybe like they have a 2-week vacation.
Yeah, I start like when spring training starts, I'll start looking for the fat guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the round guys, they're working it out kind of sort of, right?
Then there's the right, kind of sort of, or they've altered their eating patterns, you know,
Yes.
and then they have to re-alter them.
They have to re-alter their eating patterns.
Right. So the there's also, I think, so Chris Taylor had that super magical night, right?
He did, yes.
I mean, super magical, and it was so magical that the Dodgers won that game. Otherwise, I don't think they would have been playing last night.
Yes.
But there's, I don't know, like, how do you explain that whole thing of clicking? Because it seems to me that, I mean, the Braves look to me like just the most delightful team you've ever seen. They look so young and they look so joyous. And the kind of ways that settled, not just on Eddie Rosario, who was just amazing.
He was the Braves, Chris Taylor.
But everybody's there. Everybody's making it happen.
Yeah.
Like the Braves, you have the Braves and then you have Chris Taylor.
Right.
Right.
And the Chris Taylor thing is like one that was explained. I watched Mark DeRosa do an analysis of the swing and how you basically changed the swing to essentially just shorten up and shorten the stride, you know, which is basically the approach is just to make contact, right? And if more players did that, you find success, right? But when you have a situation where the hit must go over the fence, so we're going for launch angle here, because we can't win with doubles, right? We can't win with singles and doubles. We have to hit home runs. When that starts happening, if that's the way it goes, now there's a greater chance of striking out, right? But Chris Taylor is absolutely swinging just to make contact, and no one's pitching like they're not trying to fool him, because the dude is basically like he's not a power hitter, and he's essentially your last outfielder at the end of the bench for the most part, right? So they're pitching to Chris Taylor because they don't understand just how dialed in Chris Taylor is. They're underestimating him, right?
Right.
But typically don't do that 2 nights in a row.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because now you're looking at the film and you're going, oh, he shorted that leg kick. You know? Oh, I see. Yeah, he's doing this, he's doing that. Okay, well, now we got to pay attention to the dude because we can't let Chris Taylor be the MVP of the entire series.
Right.
We're going home if that happens, you know?
Right. Right. And we're not going home now. We're going. So I don't know. You know, I hate calling them the Braves. I'm disappointed. I mean, I want the Atlanta team to be in the World Series because they are so much fun to watch.
Right.
I want the rest of the world, the rest of the baseball world to say, dudes, that is such a bad look. Cut that out.
It's time. Yeah.
You know, I wish that would happen. And
the Guardians start playing next year.
Yeah, that's right.
The Guardians start playing next year. It's your turn.
Yeah, and the Washington team is just that Washington football team, you know.
Yeah, so, who are also supposed to have a name by this time next year, but who knows? Their owner's an idiot.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a complete tool.
Well, they should have been the Washington FedExes, and then he would have been all right.
Wow.
That's not what happened.
Washington delivery men would have been okay.
Yeah, that's right. They could have so many fun slogans out of that. Oh my goodness, that would just be
but
like.
That was the issue. There was the whole reason this even happened is FedEx decided if you don't do this, we take our name off the bill.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's enough money to scare the owner.
Yeah.
But his way of kind of still being petulant about it is just not to come up with a name at all.
Right.
2 years in a row.
Right.
But that's not going to fly forever.
Right. No, it's not. Whereas if he just changed the name to FedExes, then he wouldn't have lost all that money. He wouldn't have been forced in this situation. He's a stubborn guy. He's a really, really stubborn guy.
Yes.
I think that's well, I don't know if it's a deadly sin or not, but anyway, he probably could be a little more. He could be a little more bendy.
Stubbornness.
Tiny little bit more bendy and
intractability.
Yeah. So let's Yeah, intractability. So let's make, I don't know, maybe getting the Braves on the national stage like this will kind of get some thinking going on about that. I had heard, I think from a somebody in a booth announcing a game that they weren't leading the fans in that chant this year, which is why
Yeah,
you weren't hearing it as much. And
right.
so that shows some awareness
Yeah,
that this needs to change. And so that's helpful, and that's very hopeful, because especially if it's like a decision from within, this isn't who we are. That's
right.
even more exciting than getting the peer pressure from outside.
Yeah.
That would just be beautiful. I would love to see that. That would make me so happy. That would make me so happy.
Did you
So
know
I'm
that Eddie Rosario only hit 14 home runs this year?
and he hit them all in the last week.
Yes.
He wasn't playing a lot of the year for being hurt,
Yeah.
and it was interesting to watch him just
Oh yeah, he only had 200 and wait, he had 379 at bats,
yep,
but 200 less than his what seems to be like his average for
yep,
the good years he had in Minnesota. Yeah.
yep. I mean, even when Atlanta grabbed him, he was hurt. But I think,
Yeah.
like you said, Atlanta's thinking, hey, we need to get people, and we don't know we don't know who or how is going to, contribute the way that
Yeah.
Acuna Jr. could have, or come close to that, right? So we're going to get a handful of guys, and we're going to see who works out. But that's how I would behave too. I loved that.
You know
And
who I'm going to be watching like a hawk next year?
who?
Ronald Acuna Jr. If
Oh
the
yeah.
If the Braves win the World Series and that dude was hurt like back in June,
Uh-huh.
there has got to be like an emotional like roller coaster you're going when your team is out there. It's one thing when your team's losing and you can't help because you're hurt.
Right.
It's another when your team's winning without you and you're the star of the team.
Yeah,
Right?
and
That can
they're
go
going
one
all
of
the
two
way.
ways.
I mean, to
Yeah,
go all the way and not
yeah,
have that feeling.
that can go one of two ways. Because had the Dodgers beaten them and then gone on to the World Series, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. can say, "Man, if I were there, that wouldn't happen." But you have a regular offseason, and let's get them next year. Look how close we came. And Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back to a clubhouse that has possibly two of the three big players they acquired at the trade deadline, right? Like everybody won't be. Jock Peterson, I think, is playing for he's showing himself off for another team where you get everyday playing job, right?
Right.
Because that's Ronald Acuna's spot, right?
Right.
But if they win the World Series without this dude, it's gonna be like the team is like, yes, we wouldn't have gotten here without you, right? But he's not Yerman Mercedes, right? He's not this rookie phenom who came up and blew it up for 2 months and then fell off the face of the earth. That isn't what happened with Ronald Acuña, right? He's the dude that was always the straw that stirred the drink, and they were good, basically, definitely because they had that dude. And now, without him, he has to find a way, depending on, this is an ego issue, find a way to fit into a championship team where you don't feel like you have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I think that's hard for athletes,
Yeah. Hey, do you know where he is, like physically or geographically, where he is right now?
For a torn ACL at 3 months in, he's definitely in rehabbing. The problem is, like, when this happened with my wife, I knew that like 3 or 4 months into it, she was definitely every day in rehab, told to do like strengthening things, not like relying on canes and braces and things like that. Pro athletes don't have to, some of the stuff you're trying to get back, but it's not, there's just no way you can keep running on. You know what I mean? I don't think he's doing it back.
Yeah.
I think he's probably doing some wild ass drills involving standing on one leg on a beach ball and throwing eggs back and forth to people. Like he's probably doing that. You and I are not going to be doing.
Right.
But he couldn't. They wouldn't have him doing the fast turning and twitching at the rate of base in a game. He'd have to do. I'm betting.
Right.
No.
Right. He's gonna need time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I'm really sorry that happened to your wife. That's I mean, I sprained an ACL and it hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want else to say ow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, well, I hope what would be good is if, because who knows, he's he's probably in Arizona, right?
Probably.
That's where the Braves do spring training. I never know
Yeah.
who's Arizona or Florida. He's probably at their spring training facility, would be my guess.
Specifically because we haven't seen him around, right? Because he's not on the roster. So they can't even have him in the dugout cheering his team on. That's maddening.
Yes. Because it would be really helpful if he could at least be with them.
Yes.
And be a part of the bonds that are being built and those legacy bonds and all the emotion of it. That would be really helpful. So you're right. It will be really interesting to see how and what he brings when he comes back. I trust him to be to keep his balance. He just strikes me as a guy that would, but I mean, to a point, because everybody has limits, and this can push a person, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But he strikes me as somebody who knows how to handle this kind of thing.
Well, he's gonna have to learn how to handle it, because like I've seen it happen in other sports where like players press, they try to do more, right, to make up for the fact they weren't there to win that previous one.
Right.
They try to do more to like to fit in, you know.
Right.
You don't really have to, naturally your teammates already accept you. You're one of them, right? Even the new guys, they know that you made this happen before they got there, right? But like our egos are egos.
Yeah, they certainly are. And you look at these guys. I mean, they're young, and they're full of aggression and adrenaline and testosterone, and they're young. And I just look at them and they do things sometimes, and I'm like, why did you do that? I'm like, oh yeah, that's why.
I just watched Jorge Soler hit a double off the like near his hands and like stretch the single into a double. Like this is the kind of stuff that you're watching your team do when you're going, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's great, but it also kills you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, you want to be a part of it. And you don't want to, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know how small-minded and petty and selfish I can be. And I don't even want to admit this, but I would be, not if I were him, not if I were Acuna Jr., but it's just if I were Beth. And I couldn't be in this game. And I'm watching Eddie Rosario just be so amazing. There's a part of me that be saying, oh yeah, well, I could have done that too. You know, I am that petty, right? I mean, there's parts of me that are just loving him and so happy for him, but there would definitely be a part of me that would be that competitive thing. Sometimes you can't make it only go one way, right? It ends up going every possible direction. And in my own profession, I've seen people accomplish things that I wanted to accomplish and didn't or haven't yet or what have you. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's so nice for you. I could have done that and it would have been better. I am like that. So what can I say?
Me to the fan, I would not have believed it, but I applaud Beth for admitting it. I know exactly what that's like. Yes. I know that feeling.
Yeah, well, we're all only human. It's a totally
human thing.
Yeah, even Odysseus is human, as we saw. So yeah, Max Odysseus Scherzer, or Max O Scherzer. That's privately call him that from now on. I'm sorry that I'm not going to see him anymore this year because I love to see him. I'm sorry I'm not going to see Mookie Betts.
Statistically, best pitcher in the league, second best pitcher in the league, statistically. Behind Walker Buehler.
Behind Walker Buehler.
On his own team, yeah.
It was on his own team, yeah. And who, you know, sadly struggled. And, you know, you put Urias in the fourth inning, you're like, we've got this. Well, we don't, you know. And so going back to what Pedro said, I just kind of think there's a lot to that idea of just, you know, let there's a point where I think, because I thought about this years and years and years, watching analytics grow in the sport, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, that whole, you know, eye test versus analytics kind of thing. And everybody's got their feelings about it, right? Including me. And I've really thought about it. And I do think that, you know, what you do is analytics allow you to assemble the best possible teams with the best possible strategies and the best possible chance to win. But then there's still that point where you have to, and it's not just you got to play the game. We all know that, you know, we forget it, but we know it. But you have to just kind of let players be who they are.
Yep.
That is where you find out who they could be. That magic that suddenly Eddie Rosario is this guy. Like I watched him on the Twins for how many years, and I'm like, that Eddie Rosario, and I don't know what changed. I don't know what changed that he wasn't this superstar on the Twins, but he is on the Braves. I don't know, but it's
You know
beautiful.
what it also might be though, like on the Twins, he's in a situation where like you're almost doing kind of what you have to do, right? Like you need to hit bombs, right? Like you're seeing better balls because Nelson Cruz is in that, right?
Right.
It's like, look, if Nelson Cruz is coming up next, they're throwing me fastballs, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it just might be that. He hits twice as many home runs depending on where he is in your lineup and who that person is that somebody's facing. And also, he's playing for the Twins. So, how many times a year does he get to bat against Detroit?
Right.
You know, the teams in his division he's going to have the most trouble with are going to be the White Sox pitching staff and the Cleveland pitching staff. No one else is scaring him.
That's right.
You know, like there's once you start facing those guys, a lot of teams going to play where it's like he could do this depending on what that lineup is like.
Right.
Here, I better put Rosario on a lineup and you put like, you know, Freddie Freeman behind you, let's say, right? Like his average will go up.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Power will go up.
And your contribution. So yeah, it's getting the right person in the right place with everything assembled in just the right way. Right. And it's and a lot of that has to come from analytics, and we entrust a lot of that to analytics. And then I think that there is still, in the end, there is a place to be a human being who either does or doesn't respond to everything that has been served up for you.
Right.
And if you look at a guy like Rosario or like Chris Taylor's magical night, and that wasn't Chris Taylor's first magical night. If you look at guys like that, they're the ones that just put, you know, hearts in your eyes, you know, just happy, just shiny hearts in your eyes because they've been served up the best possible setting, and they exceed what you thought would even be possible. And it is so beautiful to see. It is just so beautiful to see. How many players? I mean, every year we see more than one player, the Eddie Rosarios of the world, you know, who were one kind of guy for the longest time. And then the right situation comes along and it clicks, and they do great, but they do more than great. They do great, great things. They do memorable things, you know, the things we'll never forget. And it's wonderful. And that look on Freddie Freeman's face, it just iconic, really, that look of pure joy, you know, when he got that home run off Josh Hader. It was just one of those beautiful moments I've ever seen. And I was rooting for the Brewers, you know. I thought I was rooting for everybody though. So to be fair,
this is what this postseason's been like. On different some nights you're just rooting for everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, I was so torn up with the Red Sox and the Rays because I did not miss a regular season game between those two teams. I loved that matchup. I loved them all season long. They played like 21 times or something before the playoffs. I hadn't missed a single game. And then there they were. And it was like such a bummer that the Rays got eliminated, and such a delight and a joy that the Red Sox didn't get eliminated. And it was awesome. Those were awesome games. And I think, you know, that could be part of how you navigate such an exciting postseason is that you're rooting for everybody. You can't lose as a fan. You can't lose when every team gives you so many reasons to root for them. And I mean, even the Astros, who I don't really root for because just dumb reasons, but I don't like their colors.
Yes.
I
love the Astros.
Yeah, there's nothing about them that brings me in, right?
My problem with the Astros, they still feel like a National League team in the American League. Like their uniforms don't make me think of them as an American League team, right? Something about the Astros still in my brain. They're a National League team, right?
Okay.
I accept the Brewers as a National League team now, but I don't accept the Astros as American.
Okay, so Terry, what does an American League uniform look like?
I have no damn idea. You know what it is? I think when I think of AL uniforms, I think of like, it's probably because I'm used to seeing some teams with these solid colors, right? like the Tampa Bay Rays with their solid dark blue, right? Or those Red Sox uniforms that just look like classic Red Sox uniforms. Whereas the Houston Astros, almost no matter what, they're jerseys kind of look like the Dodgers jerseys. It's almost like glorified softball.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if you want to think of the Twins, you think of the Twins with that blue with the red stripe. You know, there's the White Sox with their black and white pinstripe situation that looks so classy and awesome. This is kind of what I like. Some teams, it's like, oh, you guys are about to go play out at the park, are you? You know, oh, look at you, you're after work beer league. You made the playoffs. You get your uniform. This is great.
That's so
Right?
cute.
I expect that, like right above the number on the back of their shirts, it's like, you know, like Carl's Auto Service. That's what I expect to see when I see the Houston Nationals uniform. And it's not as bad as the old softball uniforms that had those like that weird orange rainbow situation, that sunrise sunset kind of thing they had going on back in the day. It's not that. It's not as bad as that. It
Right.
just doesn't look like something that makes me think, oh, definitely AL team here. You know, they still kind of are like NL teamish to me. Especially since the heart of their lineup is Altuve and Correa, right? Two middle infielders are carrying your team, right? Like,
Right.
it's that thing that kind of like cracks me up about them, but they're an American League team. I don't want them to be an American League team.
That is so interesting. So when they play the Braves, it'll be like another National League Championship Series.
It always is.
Okay.
It's hard to
Okay. And then somebody from the National League is definitely going to win the World Series, and so that's nice to know.
in my head, yes. The National League will win no matter what.
So you can still root for both teams. I think actually, after all is said and done, you know, here comes the World Series, and we know who's there now. We know it's the Braves
Yes.
and the Astros. And after all of this, I think I actually care who wins.
Okay, yeah.
I
Sure.
think so now we did picks in a sense because we knew better, right?
Right.
But we did some chatting about the teams going into the postseason, and I know that I had desires, which is different than who I think's gonna win. We just know who I want to see win because I know who I want to see go deep, and that's it, right? And so none of those picks made it. So like the two teams were like the last ones I wanted to see are the ones who are still there. And that's okay.
We kind of basically wanted Dodgers White Sox, right? Like,
we did, yeah.
To that would have been a fantastic series in my head and all kinds of stories. The Dodgers defending, the White Sox finally getting back there after like so much like heartache and hard work.
Yeah,
you know?
and with their sense, you know, that the White Sox attitude of just, you know, I don't know. It's like you guys put us down, but we aren't.
Yes.
Just that kind of rebellious, that really tight focused rebelliousness that is the White Sox. I just against the, you know, the behemoth Dodgers, reigning champions, that would have been like so cool. The spirit of it would have been so cool.
Yeah.
But we also would have been able to see players that we absolutely love for another week. It just would have been great. But given that,
things also, this is why I love hot stove season.
Yeah.
Teams that almost got there, like what those teams do in the offseason, you're like watching like a hawk. Like I'm watching to see what pitching is available or what pitching the White Sox pick up. Because the issue they had was they need one more ace level pitcher who's gonna want to come play here. You know, like someone wants to come play here.
Yes.
To be a part of this thing.
Yes.
Like, yeah. While you have Luis Robert healthy, while you have I can't always forget the other guy's name who got
Eloy Jimenez.
Eloy Jimenez. Why can I never remember Eloy Jimenez today?
Because we never met anybody named Eloy before.
You know what it is? I want him. My brain keeps telling me Jorge Soler because he's on my TV now, right?
Yeah.
But it's Eloy.
Yeah. But while you have those guys, you know, young and, you know, not even quite peaking yet, like they're going to get better before they start to decline, right? Yep. I think Tim Anderson still is going to get better. So you have Moncada. Maybe Moncada is now what he is going to be.
Yeah, which says you have to do something about that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and we waited a long time for that.
Maybe Moncada is the best like situational like position player. Like move him around a little bit. There's things you can do with like a guy like that. But if that's your everyday third baseman and you're trying to get to the World Series, you might have a problem.
Right.
Because he might be literally what he's going to be. It might
Right.
just be that, right?
Right.
Like, yeah.
That might be,
Maybe
but
like
that's,
it,
it could
it
be
might be
worse.
time to upgrade. But if you upgrade and keep Moncada, that's not the worst thing in the world. Do what the Yankees do.
Exactly.
Like the
Exactly.
Yankees have starters everywhere, even on their bench.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hot stove season is going to be, yes, a lot of fun. The World Series, I think, is going to be a lot of fun because then we have two teams that are packed with talent that is firing on all cylinders. Like the Red Sox were for a minute, right?
Right.
I mean, the Red Sox there for just a minute were incredible, but then they just ended up, like you said, the Astros are like MMA fighters, and they showed up, and the Red Sox just kind of, some of the cylinders stopped firing.
And some of the choices they also had to make, like that moving Schwarber to first base.
Yeah.
And he's never played first base before. Like that's an experiment similar to putting Gavin Lux in center field, right?
Yeah.
They can work for you on some days, but there might be some days where it's not working. And one of the cases is runs got scored, and it was like, I mean, it was a possibility for a triple play. But like, we're not even thinking of how close it came to being a triple play. The issue was how clean he could have picked that ball that was hit to him while basically doubling off or tagging out, rather, the runner at first base, then stepping on first base and then going home, when truthfully, I think they would have accepted if he would have tagged first base and thrown home, right, to save the run. Like that would have been fine. But it comes from experience playing at that position. You know what I mean? It comes from like being a first baseman and thinking about that. If the runner on first gets the second, fine, but you're out of the inning. You know, like or at least rather the run didn't score is the bigger issue.
Right.
But still, that would have still been 2 outs. They got 2 outs, right? He tagged the runner who was already on first base, and he tagged the base, forcing the runner out coming to first base. But that was score. So you're just trying to stop the run, you know, and that's kind of what he didn't do. But he didn't do it because he's at his third position in baseball.
Yeah.
Since he came up.
Yeah.
You know? He came up as a catcher.
Yeah.
Then the Cubs had him in left field, and this is why I refer to him as a refrigerator with a glove.
Uh-huh.
You know, like now he looks like a capable outfielder now, but that was 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess sometimes they take these guys and put them at first base because what they really want is their bat.
They want the bat, yeah.
And maybe it's fair to say that the teams that are still winning are the ones that don't have to make those kinds of compromises.
Because everybody's healthy.
Yeah, everybody's healthy and everybody's where they can be the most effective. Yep. And they are for sure doing it. So
remember when you texted me during the Houston-Boston game?
Which
remember
one?
The thing that you texted me, that the Houston-Boston game, the one that the Houston Astros coached, that Garcia pitched. Something happened very early on in that game that you texted me about. You remember what it was? A drop third strike.
Oh yeah, that's right. I thought it wasn't scored that way though, but I sure thought it was.
Yeah, it was. They probably scored it as like a pass ball, but yeah, because the replay of the Braves game is ended. They've gone on to replaying the Boston Houston game. I just saw that play and I thought of that text from you.
Yeah, it got scored as a wild pitch.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I think a wild pitch and an error. So is it? Yeah, because so it wasn't really a dropped.
Right, because he never had it. Yeah, but he should have had it. Absolutely, it's Schwarber running to first base. You know, he got the first based on that ball having gotten away, and it was strike 3. So like to me, like I feel like that's one of the reasons why you have Schwarber in your lineup. He's a smart baseball.
Right.
You just don't want to be in a situation where you're playing him out of position.
Right.
So next year they'll be looking for a stud first baseman, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Unless, I mean, no, you're right. The hot stove season is going to be fun. It made me think hot stove and where Scherzer going and how are the Dodgers going to build to win, given the guys they have. Right. Would they, because they've got Trey Turner under control now, right?
Yep.
I think. And of course, but I mean, they've got Mookie Betts. And I mean, you can't just squander that opportunity to have Mookie Betts. And there's a level at which, well, you can't, because you just told the baseball world that we've got the best player, and you do, and you paid a lot for it, and now you can't just sit around and not win.
You have the best player, you have the best position player, you have the best starting pitching.
Yep.
You have to win.
Yeah.
I
you have
wonder
to
if they
win.
wouldn't be better, if the Dodgers wouldn't be better with that, because having Trey Turner gives you some extras. And I'm wondering if Trey Turner would be better off trying the out. He's got the speed, he's got confidence, right? And then your infield gets to stay like where they're used to being. I'm betting that because Gavin Lux is going to be in your lineup. He's like the top prospect, they're not letting him go, right? And they can't have another year where he's playing like every other day. So you're going to have Trey Turner and you're going to have Corey Seager, right? You know, like there's things they're going to have to do over there where they find positions for people.
Are you willing to hang on to Chris Taylor? Is that like a good gamble for you? Or are you going to let him go?
I think Chris Taylor's gone. Chris
Yeah, I
Taylor
thought so
played,
too.
he showcased the hell out of himself next year. Actually, I'm going to look and see what his contract status is. But that's why Jock Peterson was so valuable, is that he was available, and he was available because they won. Like, God damn. Good job. Also, an Eddie Rosario thing I just noticed, I looked up. The most similar player to him, according to Baseball Reference, most similar batter to him is Yasiel Puig, which is to say you get Yasiel Puig production without him being a crazy person. That's not bad.
All right.
You know?
So when they say the most similar, is that literally the definition of most similar is run production?
They have a score listed here, and they have an explanation of similarity score. I'm going to click it, and I bet it's something that's really complicated. Yeah, it's not our. Phil James came up with the concept. Fantastic, thank you, Phil James.
Yeah.
1 point for each difference of 20 games played. 1 point for each difference of 75 at bats. Each difference of 10 runs scored. 15 hits, 5 doubles, 4 triples. 2 home runs, 10 RBI, 25 walks, 150 strikeouts, 20 stolen bases, .001 in batting average, .002 in slugging percentage. So, yeah, there's a positional adjustment that's listed here. Very complicated.
Wow.
But
okay.
very mathy.
Yes. But I mean, not in terms of like physique. So we're not saying comparable in terms of how he's built.
Right.
Or,
No.
or how he stands at the plate.
And what you get out of the guy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So specifically in terms of production. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So your sample. I mean, if your sample there is Yasiel Puig, I don't know, like what? Yeah, I guess I wonder what stats generally.
Yasiel Puig didn't exactly have a reputation as being the best clubhouse guy, right?
No.
So what would Yasiel Puig have been like if he had the personality of Freddie Freeman?
Yeah.
The Dodgers would have won sooner, you know?
That's the problem with the problem with like saying Yasiel Puig is that Yasiel Puig didn't play that long. So, you know, how would his production have been different had he had a career as longer as Eddie Rosario's?
For similar batters through age 29,
okay,
what Eddie Rosario is, Corey Hart.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Bobby Higginson, Kurt Gibson.
Okay.
Joe Carter.
Okay.
Like Kurt Gibson and Joe Carter being on this list is pretty fantastic.
That's absolutely fantastic because they are World Series heroes.
Right.
And so Eddie Rosario might just be our next Kurt Gibson, Joe Carter. And
that makes me like a team that lets him get away in free agency is like possibly giving up on someone that can be compared to Kurt Gibson or Joe Carter. You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow is right. And I'm sure that people, you know, people who do this for a living are doing it, you know, 60, 70 hours a week, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure they'll notice that. And it's just fun for us to notice it and just go, you know, wow. So that's what we're looking at right now. You know, when we put on our TVs and you know, watch the Braves play and we watch Eddie Rosario come up to bat. That's what we're looking at right now, is that potential for seeing that. And I think maybe last night we did see that kind of joy. It was winning the NLCS and not the World Series, but winning the NLCS is a really big deal. And you know, Eddie Rosario comes out MVP, you know, hits the deciding home run off Walker Buehler. I mean, I just can't. That must have just been so marvelous. That just must have been so marvelous. You know, I mean, I
Your
texted you about using these teams like a mirror, you know.
yes,
It's easier to use a player as a mirror, right? It's a lot easier to look at because you don't know these guys. You just see them on a field and doing things like hitting and stuff you're really familiar with, like hitting and fielding and running and or throwing or or pitching or what have you. You can take an individual, like I can look at Eddie Rosario and I can use him as a mirror because I'm never really going to see anything but myself.
right.
And I can imagine um, what that joy must have felt like. And I love that. I think that's what we mean sometimes when we say we live through these players, is we actually do experience the joy, not their
Right.
joy, but our joy. And
Right.
it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Whereas using a team as a mirror is something more complex. But like we did that. We did that, when I texted you about it, when I said, who are these Red Sox? Because I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Which and then the Dodgers, so obviously I look at teams that are losers and I see myself. That's kind of sad.
The answer to your Trey Turner question is he is
Ah,
arbitration eligible
oh, he
at
is.
the end of for next year.
Oh, for next year.
2022. He's a free agent in 2023.
Okay, so they do have him next year. I
And they
was
have him next year. He gets to make a little bit of money. They're just gonna
he,
come to the table and tell him how much he sucks. And
he
then
was yeah,
Kim will
that's what they do. Yeah, but he was standing on second. I think not as a fielder, but I think he just stolen second base. And they flashed up a little, one of those nice little fun factoids there on the screen that said that he was tied with Jackie Robinson for batting average and stolen bases in a Dodgers postseason.
all right.
I mean, imagine achieving that. Nobody else has done what you've just done except for Jackie Robinson. I mean,
Right.
wow, right? And yet Trey Turner was just having like a really bad postseason after that. Like, remember, like he got to the point where he just wasn't hitting anything.
Yeah.
And I
think
watching.
we've also solved the idea of Trey Turner learning center field. He won't have to because he's going to be the everyday shortstop because Corey Seager won't be the Dodger.
Yes. And that was
Corey Seager's agent is Scott Boras. He's absolutely seeing free agents.
Yep. And I think they must have looked ahead to that when they got Trey Turner, because Trey Turner has every chance to exceed a shortstop.
Yeah.
That's where he belongs.
100%.
Yeah. So we'll have him there.
I want the Cubs to sign both Corey and Kyle Seager.
Yeah. There you go. You do have to have like K Seager and C Seager. Like the way you have to have J Turner and T Turner on the Dodgers, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Playing next to each other.
Okay. So who else do you want for the Cubs? Do you want everybody for the Cubs, or you really want to build a team?
No. Well, I mean, the Cubs are making noises this week. They just got a new general manager, and he's talking about bringing in quality veteran talent. Time to because they're trying to sell the rebuild as like the rebuild basically. The core of the rebuild was trading the core team and then sucking for the second half of the year. Now they'll just build,
Okay.
So they're talking about spending money. I don't see it, but I think the Seager brothers coming to the Cubs would be something great, like in terms of Kyle Seager being one of my favorite players, to come here, and then Corey Seager being a phenomenal pickup, right? Like I think you could do worse than that, but like I know if you do that, you don't need Kyle Seager and Corey Seager to come here if you're still going to finish the fourth place.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? You want the Seagers to come to you if you're trying to get over the top. Like if you're going to beat the Cardinals and you're going to beat or at least compete with the Brewers, then yeah, this is a move you make. If you can do that in 1 year, but I think this is a 2-year minimum issue. It's not a 1 year.
Right.
A lot of times we find this to be like a 3-year issue when you're doing a rebuild because you're trying to developing talent, signing talent.
The Astros too. Didn't the Astros take like 5 years?
They did, and as did the Cubs originally. And part of that is your free agent moves that you make aren't free agent moves meant to put you over the hump now. They're meant to be players that you can trade at the deadline when it isn't working out. Right?
Yeah.
Those trades happen. They bring you back draft capital. Right?
Yeah.
They bring you back young players. That's how you refill your minor leagues. So when their new GM starts talking all this stuff about yeah, we're gonna go out and sign some great veteran talent. It's time to like be competitive. I was like, okay, I think you just mean, let's just admit it, you just mean for the trade deadline, right? Like you're playing hard from as hard as you can from April through June or May or July or whatever. And then when you're not doing well, you're gonna send those free agents to sign to teams that they can compete with. And you're gonna get something for them. That's the blueprint.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to say that there is a difference. I want to know what you think. That there is a difference between rebuilding and tanking.
Yes, there is a difference.
And rebuilding is what, a 2 to 3 year vision, and tanking is
Yes.
a 5-year vision,
5 or 6, yes.
5 or 6 year vision.
Yeah.
And then you have teams like the Pirates, which don't appear to be doing either.
Yeah, like both require a strategy.
What overall, what do you think about tanking?
I think that you gotta have to do what you have to do, right? Like you can't, like, you don't have money, right? So spending it willy-nilly just doesn't do you any good. You wouldn't have to tank if you developed a strategy for the rebuild, right? Like in baseball, it's weird. Like whoever you draft in round number 1 isn't necessarily going to be your starting this year. Other sports, the tanking almost makes sense, you know?
Yeah, it does, but I can see why there might be some I mean, I hear arguments that baseball should do something about it and just essentially institute rules that would
I would understand it if the Pirates were now stocked with so much talent at the AAA and AA level.
Yeah.
That in 1 year, 70% of that talent hit the major league level, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, who the hell are these? Like, if it was like the Pirates brought up Fernando Tatis, right? Like, if that happened, then they brought up, Jake Cronenworth, If they did what the Padres did, where suddenly you're not going deep into the playoffs, you're not really even a playoff team, but holy shit, you kind of look like you're about to. Like if the Pirates did that, then the tanking would pay off, right? If they were able to say, look what we got for all of our 8 years of struggle, now we're here. That's one thing. But I think what the Pirates are, and teams like the Pirates do, like the Orioles, they wait until they luck out, and suddenly there's actual talent that can come up and be, Mullins in Baltimore. But you need 4 of him.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Pirates have good young players, but you need 5 of those guys. And what's the strategy for getting the other 4 guys? Right? It kind of has to happen as if, like, well, look at that. Boy, these guys just came up. Aren't we so smart? Look at these guys we just brought up. Boy, they're so good. Look at us. It's our time now. Instead of thinking about it like, all right, we're gonna finish in the basement a little bit, but let's have the smartest baseball people we can at the scouting level, right? So that while we're not playing so well at the major league level, we're drafting amazingly here, right? And then in 3 or 4 years with the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
Because when you look at how the Astros were built, yeah, it started with Correa, and then it was Altuve, and then it's Springer, and then it's Bregman. Like these guys all start coming one after the next, right? The Cubs did the same thing. They changed their general manager and their manager and all this. Everybody gets all uppy, but they kept Javier Baez in their system. They let a lot of other guys go, right? And then they make a move and they get Rizzo, and then it's Bryant, and then it's Contreras, and then it's Schwarber. Like all these guys come up at the right time,
right?
Because it's time to make it happen that way because there was a plan.
Well, so you have 2 different kinds of things going on. You have a cycle. You have teams where they're cycling, right? Like this team just stinks. It is awful. Yeah. It is dismal, and it's gonna percolate, and then it's gonna turn itself around, and it's just gonna win, and then it's gonna go dismal, and then it's gonna win, and then you also have the other teams like the Yankees. I'll pull them as an example, who are resolute, who are dedicated to win year after year after year after year. Yes. 2 different models. Now, we've talked in the past about this puts the Yankees in a difficult position in a lot of ways. And people complain, oh, you're trying to buy a championship or blah, blah, blah. Well, they kind of have to, don't they? And
Right.
they kind of have to function with a thin farm system. And so there's a price for that. But at the same time, you have adoring fans. You have fans that will never walk away from you under any circumstances for generations.
They also have a market where you're just not going to go broke in that, right? So they can try to buy a championship for the most part because they have the money to do it. But they also they're not the worst in the world at finding out who their young stars are going to be. There's a bunch of players on the Yankees who didn't get traded to them like Rizzo, right? Like Luke Voigt just is a good player.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like DJ LeMahieu has been there a long time. He's been there so long, he may as well be one of their prospects. They got him from the Cubs, but he might as well be one of theirs.
They got it from the Rockies.
Oh, did they? Yeah. I thought at one point he was also in the Cubs. But yeah, he's a former Rocky. And Gleyber Torres was in the Cubs system, right? So this is still identifying young talent, right? And getting it into your farm system and bring it up to the major league level, and it pays off.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't just go and buy all-stars. They've got players that were AAA players or other teams' prospects that are major league ready.
Yeah.
Thing that you do.
Yeah. And it doesn't work out as well every single year, but it's what they're doing every single year. And I think that this is so much better a model than tanking. And this is probably a very narrow view, but you know, I live in Denver, I live in Colorado. This is a state of sports loving, sports savvy, sports doing people.
Yeah, you have 3 of the 4 major sports.
Right. Yeah. But also, you know, we have a tourism industry that's like founded in sports, you know, we're just talking about outdoor sports, right? But I mean, we have the X Games, you know, we've got skiing, we've got hiking, we've got rock climbing, we've got all kinds of extreme winter sports, right? Well, I mean,
rodeo makes it to the Olympics, Colorado sport.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. The Olympic training facility for the Winter Olympics is down in Colorado Springs, right? Which means there's ice skating going on. We don't see it very often, but it's happening. This is a state that loves sports. Like maybe we're actually kind of special that way. Not that other states don't love sports, but it's like it's ingrained in our life. And we have a baseball team, and nobody cares about them and nobody talks about them, and you don't go out and see Rocky shirts or whatever. But when our general manager or what have you do something really stupid like what they did with Nolan Arenado, everybody just goes absolutely nuts. There is a level at which people care so much that not following the Rockies is like a point for them. It's something that they think about.
Yeah.
And yet the Rockies are more like the Pirates. The Rockies don't tank. The Rockies just don't bother. Right. They don't even try.
When you don't see a plan, then there's nothing to look forward to. And the one guy you were coming out to see, now he's gone.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. You know, we see DJ LeMahieu go, we see Nolan Arenado go. We already know we're going to see Trevor Story go.
Trevor Story's going.
No, these guys go. They go, and the Rockies are in the toilet every single year. The Diamondbacks, similar situation. The Marlins, really similar situation. The Pirates, similar situation. There's teams in baseball, and I'm just using Colorado as an example because I live here and I can hear what's on the airwaves and hear what people are saying. There would be so much money spent on baseball in this city if it was a good team, and they don't bother. And that's terrible, I think, just terrible, because they're just, why would you not want fans?
Right.
And why
TV money's very good.
Yeah, that, or it's just like really that either isn't, you know, it's just good enough. It's hard to say with the Rockies, like what they're not even trying. Like I've been to Pittsburgh and I've just talked to just like basic people, you know, like busboys or waiters or bartenders or janitors or taxi drivers. I've talked to all these people, and they love baseball.
Yeah.
They really do. And so somehow or other, I mean, although obviously attendance is declining with the Pirates, that is a city that loves baseball and talks about it all the time and can talk about it. They're very prepared to talk about it. So what the Pirates are doing is terrible because they have a fan base there that deserves a good team. What they're doing here in Colorado is they don't have the fan base yet, but they have a really, really smart and passionate fan base that thinks they suck. And so, but we're smart enough that if you gave us a good team, we'd just be positively rabid.
Absolutely.
So why don't you? I don't understand that. I think that the model that teams like the Giants and the Yankees and the Dodgers use of being historically good teams, dynasty, so to speak, they use that word. I think that that's just a better model than the tanking model or the flatlined model. I just,
Right.
I think both of those they're basically just, fans don't matter. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So there's my rant.
The World Series starts Tuesday, Beth.
Yes, it does.
How are you prepared to watch it?
All right, so let me roll back a little bit. I mentioned that we had made picks, so to speak, and I remember that you had picked the Braves.
I did.
Terry, you picked well done. I just wanted to bring that forth and just remind Legion of Fan that this man knows what he's doing. He picked the Braves. I picked nobody except I didn't say I picked X and such to win. I said I hope X and such wins because that's my heart's desire, but that's different. That's totally different than picking. I have not done that. I still can't actually, but I know that I'm feeling joy from the Braves. I'm feeling, I don't know, like the Astros kind of bring me a sense of proud, happy, in your face accomplishment feeling.
Yes.
Which I'm not. That's awesome. It's just that the pure. It's like Christmas morning with the Braves, and as opposed to getting that job you always wanted with the Astros, right? So I'm going for Christmas morning. I want the Braves to win.
All right, I'll pick the Astros.
Okay.
Because I am excited to see more Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve running around the base path, declaring that it's my time, and Jose Altuve being pitched to with no strike zone because it's 4 feet tall. That part of what I'm going to say.
And then when it comes to the whole Dusty Baker story that they told us this past week, does that move you in any way?
I got to tell you, like watching Dusty Baker in a post-game press conference, that's like just watching a dude who loves baseball, man. Like Dusty Baker gets me excited to watch a game.
Yeah.
Because the way he just talks about what he sees in the game and the way he just lets these guys play, like he's like a fan on the bench. You can't believe he gets to manage these guys. Like that's cool. I like Dusty Baker kind of wore me out a little bit here in Chicago way back when. But like now, I kind of see a different side of I see the side of Dusty we saw, but also like, all right, you know what? That attitude that he has is exactly what I want out of a baseball manager.
Yeah. He kind of became a favorite.
Engaged and like everything is just connected to like old school baseball love. I was excited. Okay. Interviewed on MLB Central. That was just into it.
Oh yeah, he's so. It's crazy how relaxed he is.
Yeah.
And well, I want this for him. I want this for him a lot, just because it just like kind of completes a career.
Right.
Like the one thing that isn't there, and the sense of completion would just be so great. So I'm not going to be. It's not going to leave me sad or brokenhearted or anything if the Astros win. I just like the Braves themselves, not Snicker, but the Braves themselves. Right. I love their vibe. And whereas on the Astros side, you would probably have to say that I love Dusty Baker's vibe, but the Astros not so much. I don't dislike it. It's just that it doesn't make me happy.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at. I'm going to be good either way. How I am going to watch it is difficult to say. I never saw myself as a person who would do this, but the last week I didn't watch a game until I knew who had won. I've never done that before, and it really surprised me. I'm the person who leaves hide scores on and never ever disables that, and yet here I am, and I think it was because I think it's because it was a really just all so emotional. I think I got kind of tired. And if I have my energy back, obviously I'll be watching World Series games live. But if I'm tired, I might do the same just to conserve, just to conserve a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
So
going to try start Tuesday night. Tuesday's the day I close earliest at my shop, so I'm going to try to get home in time to catch as much of that as I can. Um, I like the game one being the only thing that'd be better if game one starting on Tuesday. So I think at least again, I think this is going to work out for me pretty well. And then I'll be catching games like in progress probably for the next week or so.
okay, so what time do you, I was thinking about you the last couple weeks because I thought that maybe you were able to go back to some bars with some friends and get that community experience, and it sounds like you're
I
not.
can, I can. Well, for one, so the one main place that I would have gone to never reopened. Um,
Oh,
yeah, there's a bar inside of a movie theater. The movie theater never reopened. There is another place I can go, which I'll probably try to get to a couple times, and they're not crowded yet, right? With people coming back, so I will be able to watch a few games after work there. Um, that will work out pretty well.
and you'll find some fellow baseball fans when
I
you
might
go
find a
there.
few. There might be a few there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Whereas here, I can just forget about it. I could go, and they probably have the game on because they just have sports on their TV screens,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I doubt anybody would be watching.
And all it requires is a few baseball fans, not like a room. Like if the Cubs or White Sox were in it, it'd be a lot of people in it, right? And
Right.
I don't really want that. So
Okay.
like it should probably be the requisite amount of a few people at the bar interested because the World Series is on. You know,
Okay.
most everybody else doing care about. You know what I mean?
Okay.
A few tables of folks who want to fit. So this should work out.
Okay. Well, I'm really hopeful for that for you because I agree with you about the the community experience. I agree with you about that. I'd
Yep.
be having loads of that right now if I were like really into the Broncos right now, then yeah, I'd be having loads of that, but not till after baseball, then we'll see. But
Yep.
but yeah, I'll pretty much be experiencing baseball alone, and Steve will watch a little bit in solidarity with me, but he's doing homework most of the time now,
Yep.
so that's the coming it's a coming week.
Absolutely.
I hope it goes 7 games.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I really hope it
Like good
goes
and
7 games.
competitive and exciting the entire time.
Yeah, very very much the entire time, and then we'll have a debrief, and we will continue with well, I think we previewed the hot stove pretty well here today,
Right.
and then we'll have a real
Exciting.
one to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, wow. So we have wrapped up a 2021 postseason short of the World Series.
Right.
I don't think we've even touched on how epic it was and how epic it is to remember what a memorable one it was. But I guess we were going to summarize that. We would say that every team could have made it. Um,
Every team would have been
every every
viable had they
Yeah,
been.
every team was a viable
Yeah.
World Series champion. Every team brought it, played so hard. They mixed things up and did the unorthodox and the unusual and the unexpected, not necessarily just to flip out the opponent, but because it's what they had to do to get on with what they had available. That was something. It was hard to watch every team eliminated go home. It was hard to lose the Rays. We want to watch the Rays. What do you mean we can't see Randy Arozarena anymore? He's
Yep.
still home. Come on, keep that guy on the field, right? And and it was hard to watch the White Sox go home so quickly. That was tough. That was really tough. And so there's a strong wait till next year feel about this too, because we know that like the Rays and the White Sox and the Red Sox, yeah, teams like this, they're going to be in it all over again next year. So there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to look back at, and I'm tired, but it was so worth it. And
Right.
World Series, bring it.
100%.
Astros, Braves, could be anybody,
Could be and will be one of them.
and it will be one of them. Yeah, and we'll be talking about it next time. So I think we can wrap up a good episode. We can get into social and political issues more during the off season,
Absolutely.
and we will, because that's our not brand. The same way that we're not a White Sox podcast.
We're not a White Sox. We're not a Fernando Tatis or Mookie Betts podcast.
Right. We're not that. And we're not although we want to be. And we do that all the time. Can you imagine if we like did nothing but Tatis and Betts like all the time?
Right.
Wow, would we get boring? Okay, and we're not a social justice podcast, but we are. So
Right.
we are all those things and more.
Because we're good humans.
We're good humans. So you can come and be humans with us, Legion of Fan. Thanks for being Legion of Fan. We just want one thing. We want to ask you, please turn into the love.
Turn into the love. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Terry. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. See you later.
Bye.